Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. That's right, and it's Thursday's 13, also Themeless Thursday, where we're just going to talk about any general news, and also Rog has a list of 13 things. Today is 13 strongest hurricanes in history, and one is already on the list, and it's very recent. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look at the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start, choose some stories out of it without any caffeine in our bodies. So, let's look at those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, BBC says UK about to be hit by a hurricane as weather site goes wrong, and Air France says a jet flew over Iraq as Iranian missiles descended on Israel. That's a great place for a jet to be.
And Defendant J. Trump sent COVID tests to Moscow when they were desperately needed in the United States.
22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal will retire from tennis after next month's Davis Cup final.
And in Thursday's 13, we have the 13 deadliest hurricanes in U.S. history.
Churchill's Spaniards, the untold story of those who fought Hitler.
And it's National Handbag Day. So if you got a handbag, or you don't need a handbag, or whatever, it's your day. It's 10/10/24, October 10th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Okay, so we are starting with all this news is related to nothing. It's just all over the place. So let's start with, these are two very short stories. They're basically just headlines, realistically, but there are some details. This is from Ben Hurst on Wales Online. The UK is about to be hit by a massive hurricane, according to its weather service today, which is predicting winds of more than 3,000 miles per hour. Anyone using the BBC weather app or website will be faced with the news that the UK is about to be wiped out by the biggest weather disaster in history. There is a warning of hurricane-force winds and wind speeds of around 3,500 miles per hour. BBC weatherman Simon King moved quickly to reassure viewers, saying, "Oops, don't be alarmed by some of the BBC weather app data this morning. Be assured there won't be 14,408 mile per hour winds." It's not even possible. 14,000?
Yeah, I think so. I think their instruments would break.
I think all the trees, all the houses, and everything on the surface of the UK would just be swiped away. Hurricane force winds are overnight temperatures of 404 Celsius. Okay, not only are they being blown away, they're being baked into atoms. This is so funny because yesterday I was talking about you can't get a category 6 unless the category 6 is everything is atomized, but I guess the BBC has discovered the atomizing hurricane, which just turns you, it burns you and it turns you into ash. It's been looked at and hopefully sorted as soon as possible. BBC Weather added, "You may have noticed some data issues on our app and website. We're working to fix it quickly. Sorry, please bear with us. In the meantime, here are Thursday's weather headlines. Colder, clearer air moving in. Rain and drizzle in the south, blustery showers near the east coast." Viewer David Edwards asked, "At BBC Weather, at The Times, at The Guardian, at BBC, are we really going to have a hurricane in the UK today? Hurricane warning, any location on your website for UK. Is this a glitch or do we need to prepare? At the Met Office, comment please." I've never been in a hurricane. No, I'm only laughing because it's not actually happening. Northamptonshire Weather added, "If you're checking the BBC Weather app or website this morning and think there's a hurricane on the way, then, as a legendary forecaster once said, don't worry, there isn't." A BBC spokesperson said, "We are aware of an issue with our third-party supplier, which means our weather app and website are wrongly predicting hurricane wind speeds everywhere. That is incorrect and we apologize. We're working with our supplier to fix this as soon as possible." I do wonder if they got hacked. This third-party supplier, they're just like, it'd be so funny if we hacked the weather equipment and said, "Hey, a hurricane's coming, watch out." It's not even April Fool's. In a situation that seems like it should be April Fool's, we've got on CNN by Christian Edwards and Saskia Van Doorn, an Air France jet supposedly flew over Iraq as Iran was shooting missiles at Israel. Iran launched dozens of missiles towards Israel on October 1st in what is said was response to the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and others in Lebanon. The missiles had passed through Iraq's airspace to reach Israel. Yeah, because they're neighbors. Air France flight AF662 was flying over Iraq when the Iranian attack began at around 4:45 p.m. UTC or 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time and left Iraqi airspace shortly before 5 p.m. UTC, the airline told CNN in a statement. Iraqi airspace was not officially closed by local authorities until 5:56 UTC, it added. So they were already there at around 4:45, but they didn't close airspace until almost an hour and a half later. So there's nothing they could have really done. Because let's be honest, commercial jets aren't, they're not exactly fast-moving things. So if they need to change their direction, they have to turn around real slow. Thanks to the information we gathered here, we're able to identify a forthcoming attack on Israel by Iran involving launch of ballistic missiles, Air France said. As a result, and without warning for instructions from the Iraqi authorities, Air France decided to suspend the overflight of the country's airspace by its aircraft from 5 p.m., it added. The airline said its jets were already avoiding Israel, Lebanese and Iranian airspace, and that flight AF662 was flying through a special corridor used by airlines. Some hours before the strike, the White House said it had indications that Iran is preparing to imminently launch a ballistic missile against Israel. Air France stressed that a number of its other flights had been diverted to avoid the region on the night of the attack. Air France constantly monitors geopolitical developments in the areas it serves and flies over to ensure the highest level of flight safety and security, it added. The safety of its customers and crew is its top priority. French television channel LCI, which first reported the incident, said Air France pilots saw the missiles in the night sky from the cockpit and that Iraqi air traffic control had wished the pilots good luck. We just heard that there's missiles flying from Iran. Good luck out there. All right, we're going to the stratosphere. Or maybe they should go lower. I'm not sure if what kind of missiles they use. I feel like they don't have to use orbital missiles or anything like that. Orbital missiles? Is that even a real missile? I think that's just in video games. But yeah. I think they were low atmosphere missiles because they're very close. You don't need to send them into space and come back down. Right? You can just send them over kind of low. I guess, I don't know. I wasn't there. Thank God. And I'm not a missile expert, so I have no idea. But asked by CNN, an Air France spokesperson would not confirm that the pilots saw missiles fly past. So I guess they're spreading rumors. LCI is spreading rumors that pilots saw the missiles, but unless they talk to one of the actual pilots, they're just saying something to sensationalize it. The incident comes as the conflict in the Middle East further sprawls. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that the Lebanese people they face falling into the abyss of a long war as his country escalates its attack on Hezbollah, which is continuing to fire rockets into northern Israel. Yeah, because the Lebanese people have control over the missiles being shot out of their country. Israeli cabinet is also considering how to respond to Iran's October 1st strike after pledging Tehran will pay for launching its largest ever attack on Israel. Meanwhile, Israel's offense in Gaza rages on. Palestinians are fleeing sites of Israel's renewed military operation in the north of the Strip and are being shot as they evacuate, according to residents there and footage shared with the CNN documenting their journey. So, things that are happening that I'm not surprised by. Luckily, the people on that flight were safe and nothing happened to them. Because, like I said, it's really hard to choose where your plane's going. It's mostly a story that's a non-story. Both of these stories are basically stories that are a non-story, but there they are. And everything's fine. There's no hurricanes coming, and there's nobody getting shot by missiles on their commercial flights, at least from France. On to your story.
Maybe you can call this Thorough Thursday, because we're covering news that doesn't even actually news, right?
Yeah.
Thorough Thursday. All right, and U.S. news and chicanery news. It involves, no surprise here, defendant J. Trump. Oh, yeah. Mr. Trump taking care of other countries first, not the one he's voted to be president of. This is from NPR.com. Although everybody has this story because it's from a Bob Woodward book that, Bob Woodward gets a lot of confessions out of politicians. They must think he's just not going to tell anybody or something. Trump secretly sent Putin COVID-19 tests during pandemic shortage, a new book reports. This is from Jason Breslow of NPR. Vice President Harris is criticizing Donald Trump following new reporting by journalist Bob Woodward that the former president secretly shared COVID-19 test machines with Russia's Vladimir Putin at the moment in 2020 when tests were out of reach for most Americans. The revelation, first reported by CNN and the Washington Post on Tuesday, is detailed in a forthcoming book called War by the famed Watergate journalist and Bob Woodward about Trump's record on the international stage as well as President Biden's. According to the book, which Bob Woodward just could have released this information, I would want to know a couple of years earlier, would have been nice, but hey, 4 years late, why not? I don't know, whatever. You got to make some money on your book, I guess. Anyway, according to the book, Trump sent the secret shipment of testing equipment to a Russian leader at the height of the pandemic in 2020, even as U.S. and other nations were facing crippling shortages of testing kits. I don't want you to tell anybody because people will get mad at you, not me. They don't care about me, Putin told Trump, according to the book. Why does Putin care if they get mad at Trump? Is it because he needs Trump in power so he can do what he wants? Possibly. Why does Putin care if Trump is president? Let me think here. Anyway. According to the book, Trump responded, I don't care, fine, according to Woodward. NPR has not independently verified the account, which was based on interviews and unnamed sources. Again, the news story today, and I guess we can highlight this news story today, which is the 1 minute story, which I'll get to after this, is that the Kremlin has verified. Yes, that's exactly what happened. So Trump can't even lie about it. He's calling the Kremlin liars if he is. Asked about the report during the interview Tuesday with Howard Stern, Harris said Woodward's reporting was an example of why Trump cannot be trusted as commander-in-chief because she said he is easily manipulated by authoritarians he hopes to befriend. He admires strongmen and he gets played by them because he thinks they are his friends and they are manipulating him full-time and manipulating him by flattery and with favor, Vice President Harris said. Remember, people were dying by the hundreds. Everybody was scrambling to get these kits. And this guy, who is president of the United States, is sending them to Russia, to a murderous dictator for his personal use. Trump campaign had dismissed a book as made-up stories, which we clearly know is not a made-up story, written by a deranged man. Oh, yeah, Bob Woodward's a deranged man. I don't think he's ever been accused of being a deranged man. Just, come on. Here comes... According to a statement by Trump's communication director, Stephen Chung, here's my impersonation.
President Trump gave him absolutely no access to this trash book that either belongs in the bargain bin of the fiction section of a discount bookstore or used toilet tissue,
the statement said. Woodward's reporting adds in a swirl of questions that have surrounded Trump and his relationship with Putin dating back to his 2016 campaign for the White House when he publicly called on Russia to find Hillary Clinton's missing emails. It's also illegal to ask a foreign country to hack a government official. But Trump did that before he was even president. Nobody gives a shit. Trump has defended his stance towards Putin, maintaining that had he still been in office, Russia would not have invaded Ukraine in 2022. Oh, sure, right. They were just going to pull those people on the border and go, okay, everybody lives on the border now. That's where your new home is. No, he put troops on the border to invade Ukraine. He was doing it the whole time you were in office, you lying sack of crap. It is a relationship that appears to have continued even after Trump left office, according to Woodward, who reports that the former president may have spoken with Putin as many as 7 times since Biden took office. Once again, talking to a foreign leader without declaring himself with the United States State Department is espionage. It is espionage. What is he doing? Why is he getting away with it? In one episode reported by Woodward, Trump ordered an aide away from his office at Mar-a-Lago in order to take a private call with Putin early in 2024. The book, which comes out on October 15th, has also details pivotal moments in the Biden presidency, including the administration's response to the war in Ukraine and Biden's fractious relationship with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Woodward accounts the president's frustrations with Netanyahu amid the ongoing war in Gaza, as he concluded that Netanyahu's instincts for political survival outweighed his interest in defeating Hamas. This son of a let's fill in the Biden words that he actually used. That son of a bitch, Bibi Netanyahu, he's a bad guy. He's a bad fucking guy, Biden reportedly told advisors, according to Woodward. Asked about the anecdote, the White House declined comment, but Deputy Press Secretary Emil Simmons said the U.S. relationship with Israel is as strong as ever, and Biden and Netanyahu have a long and candid relationship, and he's a bad fucking guy. And they can have honest and straightforward conversations with each other. Yep, but Biden, like most of us, thinks Netanyahu's a piece of shit. So, good for you, Joe. You're on the ball. I'll be bad-mouthing my man, Joe Biden. Just because he's got stuck with Israel, being on their side, with Netanyahu in charge, it ain't Biden's fault. It's Netanyahu's fault. He could have prevented all these attacks if he really wanted to. Just like 9/11 could have been prevented if the Bush administration had the political will to do it. It's their 9/11 in those terms. And of course, we're going to go to the Kremlin story, because it's only 1 minute long about this. Since, let's see what we got there going. I had the story earlier. Kremlin confirms that Trump. Let's get this story headline to pop up here. Kremlin confirms that Trump, while president, secretly sent scarce COVID testing machines to Putin. Here's the story from Bloomberg. This is only a 1 minute story, but here it goes. It says, the Kremlin confirmed that U.S. President Donald Trump, while in office, sent Russian President Vladimir Putin COVID-19 testing devices during the height of the pandemic, as recounted in a new book by journalist Bob Woodward. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Wednesday that the tests had been sent, but denied the book's claim that the two leaders had spoken by phone several times since Trump left office. So, it's not going to make Vladimir Putin look better to say they talked to Trump, so he's not going to admit that. But he will admit getting to the COVID tests because, well, it's out there, right? So Bob Woodward wasn't lying about that. The Trump people are lying about that, and the Kremlin has confirmed it. Donald Trump killing Americans while he's making sure that one of the worst scumbags in America gets a COVID test. One of the worst scumbags in the world, sorry. One of the worst scumbags in the world, Vladimir Putin, gets a COVID test. Yay! We saved Putin's life while, how many Americans died, right? Once again, Trump's he's a deadly, irresponsible criminal. That's all he is, a deadly, irresponsible criminal. That's those three things. Absolutely true. Back to you.
Okay. Basically, no surprises there. And if you were surprised, well, I hope this woke you up. I guess.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Alright. Next is some sports news. Me, Allison, the famous sports hater, here to report on Rafael Nadal retiring from tennis.
Sports, man?
I
Sports
don't
is
care
honest
about it.
news. You know, you can see what's happening. It's
I
an
don't
actual
care about, like,
competition.
you can't make me
Something-
care
You
about
don't have to worry
sports.
about the results later.
But this is
Whatever.
from 18 News by
Why-
Howard Fendrick. Rafael Nadal announced his impending retirement from tennis today on October 10th at the age of 38 after winning 22 Grand Slam single titles during an unprecedented era he shared with his rivals in the so-called Big Three, Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic. Nadal said he will retire after next month's Davis Cup finals. Really, everything I have experienced has been a dream come true, Nadal said in an announcement on social media. I leave with the absolute peace of mind of having given my best, of having made an effort in every way. The Spaniard indicated his decision was related to persistent injury problems. The reality is that it has been some difficult years, these last 2 months especially. I don't think I have been able to play without limitations. It is obviously a difficult decision, one that has taken me some time to make. In this life, everything has a beginning and an end, Nadal said. What a great point of view to have. I agree. Some things end, some things begin. Doesn't mean it's over overall. Nadal's unrelenting physical style of play, which is probably why he got his injury, every point pursued as though it were his last, sprinting and sliding to place for that high-bouncing bullwhip of a lefty forehand, made him one of the greats of the game, and the unquestioned king of clay. The slow red surfer on which he claimed of his record of 14 French Open championships. He loves that clay. That's more than anyone, man or woman, who's won at one of the sport's 4 major tournaments, a dominance celebrated by a statue of Nadal that stands near the main entrance to the grounds of the Roland Garros in the shadow of his main stadium, Court Philippe Chatrier. Nadal also won 4 trophies at the US Open and 2 apiece at the Wimbledon and Australia Open, giving him a career Grand Slam. His last pair arrived in 2022 at Melbourne in January and at Paris in June, pushing him ahead of Federer for men's record of 20 Grand Slam titles. Federer announced his retirement when he was 41 at the end of 2022 season, shortly before bidding adieu by teaming with Nadal in a doubles match at the Laver Cup. Both have since surpassed by Djokovic, who is up to 24. This guy never stops. How old is he? 60 now? I want to thank the entire tennis industry, all the people involved in this sport, my longtime colleagues, especially my great rivals. Nadal said over images of playing against Federer and Djokovic, I have spent many hours with them and I have lived many moments that I will remember for the rest of my life. So much of Nadal's success was seen, fairly or not, through the prism of encounters with Federer and Djokovic. The tennis world, and plenty outside of it, were consumed with the debate over who was the most deserving of the GOAT, greatest of all time moniker. I think they all can get one. There doesn't have to be the only great. It's not called the only greatest of all time. It's just saying the greatest of all time.
There can only be one greatest.
No, there can't.
The
No, I disagree with you. There's no rule in the world that there can only be one of the greatest, okay? They can all be the greatest. The world of tennis or otherwise was fascinated by their matchups, their differing styles and personalities. Who among those who witnessed it could possibly forget Nadal versus Federer in 2008 in Wimbledon final, or Nadal versus Djokovic in the 2022 French Open quarterfinals, or Nadal versus Djokovic in the 2012 Australian Open final, and so on. There's just so many games. Go out there and watch them all if you can find them on YouTube. Nadal added today that he was excited to finish his career at the Davis Cup, which will be played in Malaga, Spain, so he can, hit some balls and go home. I'm very excited that my last tournament will be the final of the Davis Cup, representing my country, he said. I think I've come full circle since one of my first great joys as a professional tennis player was the Davis Cup final in Seville in 2004. Nadal has not played since the Paris Olympics, where he lost to old rival Djokovic in the second round of the singles tournament and reached the quarterfinals of the men's doubles with Carlos Alcaraz. I think it is appropriate time to put an end to a career that has been long and much more successful than I could have ever imagined, he said. So, cheers to you for a long career. Here's to 40 more years of doing whatever the hell you want, because he's probably pretty well off if he was one of the GOATs, you know? He was one of the greatest of all time, got all those sponsorships, because this fun fact, guys, a lot of sports people don't get paid a lot of money. They have to, hey, can I put your sticker on my helmet? Yeah, give me money and I'll put your sticker on the back of my shirt, you know?
Man, they don't have to buy their own equipment either.
Yeah.
Because it's all supplied by their sponsors.
Because, yeah, exactly, so. Well, hopefully have some great 40 years of retirement where he'll do other things and get those injuries back under control, because he seems to have a lot of them for his very physical play style where he's sliding across the clay.
Dominate pickleball.
Yeah, he can go dominate pickleball. He's a pickleball player now. Cheers to you, Nadal.
Not
to your future successes. Onto your story.
All right, it's time for Thursday 13, I guess. And let's get the old whiteboard out. And this is topical because Hurricane Milton is currently killing people across Florida. I'm probably moving out to sea about now at some point. But it's hurricane season, and we got a couple of deadly hurricanes that recently, and we're going to recall the 13 deadliest in history. The 13 deadliest, not the biggest, not the one with the most property damage, but the 13 that killed the most people. So number 13.
So this is the lowest,
going
the
to be
highest.
Hurricane Hart. I'm sorry?
This is lowest to highest. So lowest
to highest. So
yeah.
13th on our list. Yeah, that's right. 13th on our list is Harvey. In 2017 was killed. That's my number here. 82 people.
Wow.
On the Texas Gulf Coast. Hurricane Harvey, if you remember that one. You might not. But it was a deadly hurricane. Some of these are surprising, quite frankly.
Like the numbers, yeah. I mean, it's great that the numbers are so low.
Number 12 is who? What's that?
It's great that the numbers are so low still, like at 13.
Right, because people took heed to the warnings. Unlike, I think with Helene, what happened was people just said, what am I, a hurricane ahead here? I'm too far inland, and they were wrong. And they paid the price because they didn't listen to local authorities that said, you got to go. Now, I think Milton people got the wake-up call. I think Helene was a wake-up call. Hurricane Hugo in 1989 killed 86 people in Puerto Rico and South Carolina mostly. Hurricane Hugo.
Yeah, islands always get hit the worst.
You might remember Hurricane Ivan from 2004, or you may not. But that one hit Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida and killed 91 people. Now, I know the next one you remember is Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy in 2012. If you remember Hurricane Sandy, that was a long-lasting hurricane. Started in Jamaica.
Wow.
Killed a bunch of people in Jamaica. Crept along the eastern coast of the United States until it hit New York City and New Jersey and killed a total of 185 people.
Yeah, that's rare for a hurricane to get up there.
Killed people in Canada. Hell yeah, I kept going to Canada. Killed people up there. Hurricane Sandy, one of the longest lasting sustaining hurricanes. Hurricane Helene, which is, I hope you remember it, it's actually just happened. That's right, the 9th deadliest hurricane in U.S. history, and they have not quite counted all the bodies yet. There's still people missing, but right now it's at 230 plus, and we know where that went through. It went through Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia.
Just everywhere.
And people still recovering. Number 8, Hurricane Camille, 1969, killed 256 people in Mississippi.
Wow, that's an oldie.
Started in Mississippi and ended up in Virginia. What's that?
It started in Mississippi. How did a hurricane get created in Mississippi?
It's on the Gulf of Mexico. What are you talking about?
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm just thinking
it went through Mississippi and then went to Virginia, or did it follow the coast?
No, it goes. The Gulf of Mexico starts in Texas, Then next to that is Louisiana. Then you got Mississippi, then Alabama, and then Florida. That's the Gulf of Mexico. Well, and a little bit of Georgia too, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, no Georgia. No, because Alabama connects to Florida. So that's your Gulf of Mexico. So yeah, Mississippi. Look at your maps. Mississippi's always been in the Gulf.
No, I know where Mississippi is. It's very, usually you have hurricanes starting from the Atlantic, not.
No, they start in the Gulf a lot.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hurricane Gilbert, 1988.
Another oldie.
And that killed 318 people in the Cayman Islands, Mexico, and Texas. So that one.
So that was a Gulf
Mexico,
one as well.
Hurricane, which the Gulf of Mexico is technically the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. But it's a Gulf, so it all. Oh wow.
Number six hurricane was the 1935 Labor Day hurricane.
Did they even name it?
Before they named them. They haven't even started naming hurricanes after women yet. They first started naming them after women, and then they said, that's sexist, and they started mixing in men's names again.
1935.
The 1935 Labor Day.
None of us were alive for this one.
1935 Labor Day during the Great Depression, too. And that killed 400 people, mostly in Florida. And Florida is
probably didn't have a proper warning
really.
system back then either, like we do now.
Yeah, there was. Number 5, the one you've heard of, is Katrina. Katrina hit New Orleans, Louisiana, and Mississippi and Alabama, and
mostly because levees broke. This is
33 people.
Yeah, mostly due to like catastrophic kind of dominoes, right? It wasn't just a hurricane knocking down people's houses. It caused the levee to break, and then everyone in Louisiana got flooded out. Yeah.
Well, it was the hurricane because it was a storm surge from the hurricane that topped the levees.
You could definitely argue that the levee wasn't well maintained.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't a wind or the rain. Yeah. There's 3 things in the hurricane: wind, rain, and floods.
Yep.
I mean, storm surge.
New Orleans had to be completely remade after Katrina.
And another one we remember, because it's recent, is Hurricane Maria in 2017, which, we remember Hurricane Maria because that's the one where Donald Trump went down to Puerto Rico and threw them paper towels.
Oh,
but Hurricane Maria, because it's in Puerto Rico, because it's in Puerto Rico, it didn't get the coverage that we give hurricanes in the United States, but Hurricane Maria killed 2,975
almost 3,000 people
in Puerto Rico. But again, we're in America. We're somehow conditioned to think that Puerto Rico is not part of the United States. It is part of the United States, you idiots. Anyway, if you're not an idiot, don't take offense to that. So Hurricane Maria, the 4th deadliest hurricane in the history of the United States. And let's see, there was 2 of them. Hurricane Harvey in 2017 also. 2017, not a good year for hurricanes.
No.
Number 3 is before they were naming hurricanes. And again, the rest of these are going to be estimates.
Yeah.
Galveston in 1900, that hurricane in Texas, Galveston, Texas, killed approximately 6,000 to 10,000 people. They don't know because it was 1900 and the statistics gathering wasn't.
Yeah, this one's world famous because I know I've heard about this one. This one's world famous, right? It's the top of the century, 20th century, huge hurricane who killed who knows who. Yeah.
But not the deadliest, because it's only 3rd.
Yeah, that's crazy 2, that it's only 3rd.
Hurricane Mitch! Hurricane Mitch! What the hell over Hurricane Mitch? That was in 1998, and it killed 11,000 people, and it was mostly in Honduras and Nicaragua.
Yet again, of people that no one cares about. No, I'm just kidding.
And this one may have even started in the Pacific. This hurricane might have even started in the Pacific and worked its way across Central America. I think that's what happened with Mitch. So Mitch is probably the first on this list to have originated in the Pacific Ocean. And number 1 is the 1780 hurricane. 1780.
The oldest hurricane on the list.
Well, there's no real clear number, but they estimate say 22,000 people died in the Caribbean, and it was during the Revolutionary War, and it caused a lot of death at sea from the naval ships that were out supposedly going to be fighting naval battles. The British and American ships capsized, turned over, people drowned. So that was part of the death toll. So the worst hurricane.
Don't want to be caught in a hurricane during a naval battle. That is not a great combo.
What happened in 1780? So there's your list. The worst hurricanes in history. Hopefully, our current hurricane Milton does not end up on the list. Back to you.
We can only work together to make sure those numbers stay low. And listen to the people who are.
Best thing you
it's
can
almost
do
like
is
there's people out there.
Take what you need, take what you can't live without, and get out of your house and get the hell away from there.
Cause I have a friend who lives in Florida, and he saw that the Waffle House, like we talked about yesterday, right? The Waffle House was shacking up, and he was like, "Okay, I'm leaving town. I'm going more south to where my parents live, because they shouldn't be hit by the hurricane at all." So he took his cat, it took his wife, and then they're there now. So it's that easy. You can always get your stuff back, as long as your job doesn't disappear, I guess.
Right on.
And yeah, all we can only do is make sure those numbers stay low and listen to the people who almost studied their entire life to look at weather systems. You know, like the people in FEMA, FEMA.
Oh, and our.
You know, who tell you what to do because they know what you should do. They know how to make sure you survive.
Federal Emergency Management Administration.
Exactly.
The source for my 15 worst hurricanes or 13 worst hurricanes is howstuffworks.com. So back to you.
Right, from one devastating news to something a little bit more, well, it might still be a little devastating. We're going to talk about a new book by Sean Scullion called Churchill's Spaniards, continuing the fight in the British Army from 1939 to 46. This is on Euronews Culture by Graham Keeley. It tells a story about 1,200 Spaniards who enlisted in the British Army to fight Hitler in the war. And Angel Camarena took part in one of the most dangerous SAS operations of the Second World War when 30 troopers lost their lives after being ambushed by the Nazis. He survived the battle to fight again for the elite fighting force in another operation as the British Army crossed the Rhine in dying days of the war in their trademark jeeps. Camarena also took part in an SAS operation to force the surrender of the German army in Norway as Hitler was about to fall. His extraordinary life also included escaping execution at the hands of the Spanish dictator General Francisco Franco, who is still dead, joining the Allies in North Africa and signing up for the SAS. It's just one among many remarkable tales told in Churchill's Spaniards, a book about 1,200 Spaniards who joined the British Army during the Second World War to help Winston Churchill defeat fascism. John Scullion, a lieutenant colonel in the British Army who is based in the Netherlands, where he works for NATO, spent the past 8 years researching for this book. In a gripping prose which suits the daring exploits of these men, Scullion tells the stories of Spaniards who joined the SAS, others worked as spies for Special Operations Executive, or fought on the battlefronts from Tobruk, Salerno, Normandy, Arnhem, and Ardennes. SAS troops took on names like Robert Bruce, Frank Williams, and one even wanted to be named after the English naval hero Sir Francis Drake, but he was forbidden. But inside all these hard-as-nails SAS men were Spanish to their bones. The British names were partly to avoid being repatriated to Franco Spain should they be captured and to evade immediately execution, as in Hitler ordered all commandos to be executed if captured. The book relates to the heroism of these men who were already veterans of the Spanish Civil War when they enlisted for Britain. After the victory of Franco in 1939, some Republicans ended up in refugee camps in southern France. At first, they joined the French Foreign Legion to fight the Germans after the Nazi invasion of France in 1940. After the fall of France, many wanted to join the British, as they had a good reputation and the Spaniards had not been treated well by the French. Oh, well, I'm not surprised. They are bordering each other, so. A second wave of Spanish. I don't even know if the British have actual generalizations and prejudice against Spanish people. I mean, I guess they had naval battles against each other, which famously the Spanish naval battle where all their ships got rammed into the cliffs of Dover or something, and that's the only reason the British won. But either way, a second wave of Spanish troops joined the British in 1942 after the liberation of North Africa by Allied troops. Some joined the SAS and took part in long-distance desert forays. The only exclusively Iberian company was the No. 1 Spanish company of the Auxiliary Military Pioneer Corps. Some of its members were judged hotheads by the British officers during training, but they lacked nothing in terms of gallantry. Now, they're probably just a little too Spanish. In 1945, after the victory over Germany, Spaniards who had risked their lives were disappointed that the Allies did not try to bring down Franco. Nevertheless, some settled down and created associations to carry on the resistance against Franco from Britain. Individual tales of heroism make the book a great read. Before the Spanish Civil War, Camarena was a driver for Franco and would push the future dictator's daughter on her swing. Wow! When the Spanish Civil War broke out, he was arrested as a Republican and sentenced to death. As he was about to be executed, he dived off a prison ship, but was picked up by a passing British ship and handed back to the Spanish. On one condition, he was not killed. After 5 years in prison, he was released and escaped to the Allied side in North Africa, where he eventually joined the SAS. Camarena was involved in an operation called Awry. The SAS drove all the way from the UK in their jeeps to the Rhine River in Germany at the end of the war, and the objective was to harass German retreats, Sculion told Euronews Culture. They got really close to Hamburg, and this is where Camarena came across a Spanish nurse in hospital who was working with the Germans because she was a Francoist. There was an altercation. There are some stories of SAS troopers driving back to the UK in their jeeps with their weapons fully loaded. It is a bit surreal. Another remarkable character was Rafael Masens, who took part in the battle, which seems like something straight out of recent BBC television series SAS Rogue Heroes. In the dying days of the war, commandos from the SAS parachuted behind enemy lines to attack and crack a German mountain unit. Ramos killed 6 Germans and carried his wounded captain to safety. His actions earned him the military medal for extraordinary bravery behind enemy lines. Ramos also fought in 2 battles and walked 125 miles before he took part in the Italian battle. Some Spaniards trained for secret work for the Special Operations Executive SOE inside Spain under auspices of James Bond creator Ian Fleming and Kim Philby, who was later unmasked as a Russian spy. They took part in Operation GoldenEye, which was the plan in case the Germans invaded Spain to capture Gibraltar. Some of them ended up in Gibraltar to listen to Spanish radio transmissions. The Germans were in touch with the Spanish. Some also did work with the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, the American precursor to the CIA, said Sculion. One Spaniard who served in the unit was Esteban Molina, father of Alfred Molina, the British actor and Hollywood star. Another remarkable figure was Alfonso Canovas, SOE officer who awarded a military medal for helping the liberation of a French town. His grandson, Jason Canovas, was the sound director of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and was nominated for an Oscar. Wow, small world! Sculion, who spent part of his childhood in Spain, was inspired to write the book about the Spanish role in the British Army in defeating Hitler. A lot of people are aware of Spanish role in things in France and with the French, but nobody has talked about what they did with the British and the amazing things they did. Hopefully this book will remedy that, he said. Families of Spaniards was fought to defeat fascists, and I'm hoping Britain or Spain will honor these men with a monument. Churchill's Spaniards by Sean Sculions is out now and published by Helion Company. So check your local bookstores or your online bookstores if you want to read about some World War II Spanish heroes. That's my culture segment, and on to this day in history.
This day in history. On October 10th, 1846, English astronomer William Lassell discovered Triton, the largest satellite of the planet Neptune. Discovered a big old moon circling Neptune. 1911, a group of revolutionaries launching an uprising in Wuchang, China, which many regard as a formal beginning of the Chinese Revolution, a nationalist democratic revolt that overthrew the Qing dynasty. In 1917, American pianist and composer Thelonious Monk, among the first creators of modern jazz, was born. Happy birthday, Thelonious Monk. 1935, George Gershwin's opera Porgy and Bess opened on Broadway. 1956, the American classic Giant had its world premiere. The saga was especially notable for being the last movie of James Dean, who died in a car accident shortly after filming was completed. James Dean didn't get to be very old. 1963, the British spy film From Russia with Love premiered in London, the second film in the James Bond franchise. It is considered one of the best in the series. Okay, I'll take your word for it. 1969, American gridiron football, as opposed to the other type, American gridiron football player Brett Favre was born. Happy birthday to Brett Favre. In 1969, he's turning 55 today. Oh my God, he's old. 1970, Fiji gained independence from Great Britain. Congratulations to Fiji as the British Empire continued to crumble. 1973, Vice President Spiro T. Agnew resigned. That's right, resigned from office, pleaded no contest to a charge of failing to report $29,500 in income while governor of Maryland, otherwise known as bribes. When I say income, he was actually taking bribes while he was vice president of the United States, but they dropped those charges for some reason. Okay. But he had to resign. He should have gone to prison. Here's the thing. They should have sent him to prison. They should have sent Nixon to prison. We never would have got Trump. Presidents would have been afraid to break the law. But there seems to be no consequences because nothing happened to Nixon. So, nothing really happened to Agnew either. Agnew was taking bribes in the basement of the White House. He's a straight up grifter. That's all he was.
Crazy.
Former governor of Maryland. In 1979, on this day, Wayne Gretzky made his NHL debut with the Edmonton Oilers. I believe he was only 19 at the time, but he was very young, ended up as probably the greatest hockey player of all time. He was really small and really fast. 1985, American filmmaker Orson Welles died at the age of 70. He notably wrote and directed the film Citizen Kane, one of the most influential films of all time. And don't forget War of the Worlds, which he had that radio show which freaked people out. Orson Welles died at the age of 70 this day in 1985. In 2018, the Netherlands Antilles, formerly an autonomous part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, consisting of a group of 5 islands in the Caribbean Sea, was officially dissolved. So as
You're
of
free to
2010,
be your
those
own
5 islands in
countries.
the Caribbean, are their independent countries, I suppose. Can you name those 5 islands? I don't know if I can.
Saint Martin,
Curacao was one
Curacao.
of them.
I don't know.
Right?
I probably should know them, but also they're not part of the country anymore.
Where's the one where the girl disappeared? Aruba. Anyway. And our featured event, 1845, the founding of the U.S. Naval Academy. 1845 in this day, to improve the then unsatisfactory methods of instructing midshipmen, George Bancroft, historian, educator, and Secretary of the Navy, founded the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland on this day in 1845. So we were having a big old ceremony today up in Annapolis. Our featured biography, Giuseppe Verdi, Italian composer, opera guy. He was born October 9th. I don't know why we're celebrating October 10th, but I guess we missed it yesterday. He was born October 9th in 1813 in Le Roncole, Italy. Died January 27th, 1901 in Milan, Italy. Other birthdays today, R.K. Narayan, Indian author, born in 1906. who did Thelonious Monks. Harold Pinter, British dramatist, born in 1930. Nora Roberts, American novelist, born in 1950. And Brett Favre. Oh, I did send you a video. You got the video, right? I know it's kind of late to tell you, but you got the video? Hello?
Yes, I have the video.
There? Hello? Okay. 1950, Nora Roberts, American novelist, was born. We already covered Brett Favre. In 1949, Eleanor Rigby was born. That's right, Eleanor Rigby, the real Eleanor Rigby, died in her sleep of unknown causes at the age of 44. The 1966 Beatles song that featured her name wasn't written about her as Paul McCartney's first draft of the song named the character Miss Daisy Hawkins. Eleanor Rigby's tombstone was noticed in 1980's graveyard of St. Peter's Parish Church in Wilton, Liverpool, a few feet from where McCartney and Lennon had met for the first time in 1957. So he got the name off a gravestone at a St. Peter's Parish Church, Eleanor Rigby. And we know who she is because of that. And we know what day she died because it's on her gravestone. She died October 10th, 1939. So on what day is it? The National Day calendar? National Handbag Day? National Walk to the Park Day, so that's a good thing to do. Walk to the park and then walk around the park. Don't just walk to the park and walk home. Get some real exercise. National Angel Food Cake Day and National Cake Decorating Day. So, little bonus, you can make your angel food cake and then you can decorate it. So those are your days for today. Oh, it's also National Metric Day. Okay, so it's National Metric Day. So in every part of the world except the United States has the metric system. The United States, we have to be reminded that it exists all the time. And those are your days for today. October 10th, 2024 on Before Angel Food Cake.
It is also yesterday it was World Post Day, which is notifying everyone, the United Nations notifying everyone that some postal services aren't as well regulated as others, and they don't have adequate internet structure, and there are at least 100,000 communities missing out on a wide weight of digital, financial, and social inclusion services because they don't have a post office. And also today is World Mental Health Day, so celebrate raising awareness that mental health issues exist and they're just as unhealthy as physical ailments. So mobilize your efforts to support mental health. Know somebody who's depressed and give them support. Help people. Improve knowledge, raise awareness, and drive actions that promote and protect everyone's mental health as a universal human right. So there's your UN International Days, and this has been Allison from the Netherlands. I hope to see you guys tomorrow for the Friday News Dump, where we will dump all of the stories before the weekend. Don't forget to subscribe, turn that notification bell so you know when we go live, and of course, comment down below what you think about deadly hurricanes. Now it's time for,
terrible.
Pretty sure we're getting copyright strikes for this mic drop moment.
Not if we get a pop-up or if we're doing a reaction.
Mic drop moment. That's how they get you.
The movie itself was in color. I had a black and white television. Couldn't afford color.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons. And follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.